let's start with the Vikings. I feel like the Wilfs finally have come to the conclusion, and this is something that I have said from time to time over the past 2 years.
Yes,
just good enough is no longer good enough. It's not good enough to be 8-7, to be 9-6. Last couple of games, maybe we get in, maybe we don't. As long as our quarterback doesn't get COVID and can't play against the Packers, not that they would have won that game anyway. But this whole idea of let's just stay in the conversation. Let's make the fans think we have a chance. They want to consistently contend for championships, and I know that that's a tough standard to live up to. But the franchise lived up to that standard in the 70s, and currently in their division, the Packers are that standard. And the Packers are looking at a future at some point without Aaron Rodgers. And unless they get lucky and find another way to hand the baton from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer to another Hall of Famer at quarterback, there's an opportunity to take over that division once Rodgers is gone. He could be gone as soon as this year. Who knows? And the Vikings now are ready to elevate the bar. And look, they've got great stadium, great practice facility, state-of-the-art. The Wilfs will spend money on players. You just need to have the right players. And I was stunned that Rick Spielman was fired after 16 years with the team, but it's what happens when you hitch your wagon to Kirk Cousins. Frankly, sorry, but I think that's what brought him down, because I think the final analysis is we blew it on this one. We paid this guy way too much money, and even though he throws for a lot of yards and touchdowns, there's a ceiling on what he can do,
right?
And that reinforce the ceiling on what the Vikings can do.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is certainly a big part of that situation, the Kirk Cousins deal, how that all, kind of, I don't want to say fell flat on its face, but certainly hasn't been anything special. I mean, they brought him there to be the savior of the organization, and, oh, man, he's going to get us over the hump. And, of course, here we are 2 years in a row where, no, things, we got one playoff win and got into, the wild card game and had the upset against the New Orleans Saints that 1 year. But then after that, it's 2 years of missing the playoffs. And I think you're right. I mean, I think that's where you look at it and go, wait, well, I was sold that was just, that's all we were missing. We spent all this money on trying to acquire him. I mean, going to guarantee him basically, what is it now? Somewhere close to $150 million. And you're getting good quarterback play, but not superstar quarterback play that would translate to the amount of money you're paying him. And I think to your point, you said it right. He's really good. He needs a certain formula, though, to be really great or have, be on a team that makes a deep run into the playoffs. He's not the guy that's going to carry your team or make plays that are off schedule or, hey, we got some injuries. We'll rely on Kirk this week. He'll make the plays we need to get us over the hump for a week or two because we're banged up or we got guys out with COVID. Absolutely not. Nor does he have, like, the superstar, magnetic personality either. So there's issues there. And to me, yes, it looks like that was kind of the start of the downfall for the Vikings and where they are now.
Not a coincidence that Stephon Diggs tweeted his way out of town the same day that Kirk Cousins got an extension. Not a coincidence at all. And that's going to be job number one for the new coach and the new GM. What do we do with Kirk Cousins under contract for one more year at a fully guaranteed salary of $35 million? And, this is something that occurred to me yesterday when Golick and I were talking about Rich Bisaccia staying as the coach of the Raiders, because he and I both came to the conclusion that he should.
Yeah.
And I think you agree with me based on something I said earlier. But Golick said sometimes the right answer is staring you in the face. And, I think back 4 years ago after Case Keenum comes in, goes 13-3, wins the Minneapolis Miracle game, gives the franchise its most exciting moment in decades.
Right.
And they say, we can do better.
Yeah.
We're going to throw you overboard, and we're going to go get Kirk Cousins and pay at least $10 million more per year than what it would have cost to keep Keenum around. I think that when you have a magical moment like that, and we saw it with the Raiders this season, culminating in that epic Monday or Sunday night game that, the firings yesterday took all the steam out of any full, proper breakdown. We're going to talk about it more coming up in the show, though. But what a special night that was. Like, you got to keep Bisaccia now. Right. And I think in hindsight, the Vikings would admit, the Wilfs would admit, they should have kept Case Keenum at least for a year. Just see if you can
how it goes.
And if you can't then move on.
Yeah.
But you can't. You just had something ridiculously special.
That's right.
That just gets thrown out the door because you think you're at a spot where you can do better. And that's fine if you do that. But if you don't do better, you can't ride that horse for 5 years. We've ridden the Kirk Cousins horse long enough to know that it's time to go to the glue factory. Do they still send horses to the glue factory?
I don't know. I don't know. I hope not.
I was so horrified. I swore off glue. When I was a kid and somebody explained to me that they make glue out of horses, no more glue. There's no glue. I don't want glue anywhere near me. Anyway.
But I think you're right about you don't abandon that magic that you had that year. That to me, again, I know I argued at that time. Like, what's wrong with Case Keenum? Hey, they were trying to ruin the magic of Case Keenum that year, during the year, while he was playing well, and threatening him with the
Zimmer
Teddy
was
Bridgewater.
Never all in.
I know.
Zimmer was never all in.
So that to me, that was a weird one. There's no doubt. And you just don't throw overboard that type of chemistry and what you had there that year. Again, Case Keenum, I know he's not a superstar, but he's still, the things he did that year, he's a viable, bottom half of the league starting quarterback with, again, the right pieces around where you see he could be successful. Has some of the same play. He has more playmaking ability, actually, than a Kirk Cousins. His ability to dance around and move around the pocket and do things like that.
Slide lateral. We used to show the clips.
Right.
He'd work his way, reset, and somebody would pop open eventually.
And that's where Kirk Cousins is not good at that stuff. He's not. He needs space. He needs room to throw. He's not a guy that's going to move around and hop around the pocket and make some awkward off-kilter type of throw. That's not what he is either. So, yeah, they lost a little magic or, chemistry they certainly had there that always was head-scratching to me. It was.
Apparently, the threat of being sent to the glue factory was one of the realities of playing for the Vikings over the past 8 years. Here's Eric Kendricks, one of their best players, talking about the way things had been up until yesterday.
No matter how what your role is on the staff, you having a voice and being able to communicate, things that you think could help facilitate wins. I think just having that voice, no matter how big your role is important to listen up and take each other's opinions into account. I don't think that a fear-based organization is the way to go.
Yeah, that's very telling. And look, Zimmer had a style. He had a personality. Still does. Still alive. Still will end up somewhere, I assume, running somebody's defense. But it's that Parcells vibe. It's that old school approach where the coach is the emperor, the dictator, the czar, and he sets the rules and don't even question him. Don't even raise the possibility that maybe we need to do things a different way. I know it all. I make the decisions, and it worked to an extent until it didn't. And, I think that's what Kendricks is getting at. So, we always notice that when a team fires a coach, the next coach is very different. Sometimes the polar opposite in a lot of different ways. I don't know what that's going to translate into for the Vikings, but, they've got to hire a GM. They've got to hire a coach. And they fall into the Stephen Ross category. The Wilfs are in New Jersey.
Yeah.
They need a presence in that organization. They need, ideally, move there. Make it your base of operations. If you want this to be as good as it can be, you need to be there every single day. And if not, they better make sure whoever's in charge of the place brings there's got to be an accountability. There's got to be an urgency. I feel like the Vikings, and it's hard for me to say this because Rick Spielman was great at what he did. But that urgency that comes from someone who's fully and firmly in charge, whether it's ownership or someone else who's fully and firmly in charge of the organization, that needs to be there if they truly want to consistently contend for championships.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, I totally agree with you on that sentiment. There's got to be some sort of element in the building. We talked about it a lot last segment, but yes, not even that. I think it has to be the owner. But it has to be a guy that is deeply connected to the owner, like the right-hand man, like I was saying, that's there every day. To where, again, he's walking around the building and you go, oh, well, he's really an extension of the owner. If the Wilfs wanted to stay in New Jersey. But you got to have that type of presence. Again, I'm not shocked by the Vikings thing. I know you're not either. I think it had run its course. And it was a good run. You said it right. Rick Spielman did a lot of good things. Mike Zimmer did a lot of good things. It's just they could never make it all work. It was always something was missing. Whether it was, hey, Zimmer coached well, but we're missing this part of the element of the roster that Zimmer could take the team over the top, or it was the other way around where you go, hey, the team's good, and, man, Zimmer needs to adjust a little on the defensive side of the ball, or they need to open up the offense a little bit. Just never could quite seem to get it all together to where, to a thing you say a lot, couldn't consistently contend for championships, could consistently contend for being in the conversation of the playoffs, but at some point, that gets old, and you got to try to make a move in Teddy KGB style to go all in and go, no, we need to start talking about championships, not just getting in the wild card round.
And the crowning achievement for Zimmer was to get to the NFC Championship 4 years ago. And I remember in the aftermath of that game, he came dangerously close to admitting he got out-coached. And his point was, if we get in this situation again, I got to make sure that we're not quite so predictable. In other words, you had 17 games of film.
Yeah.
And Doug Peterson and company cracked the code on the Vikings defense and offense and figured out how to stop them and ultimately blow them off the field 38-7 after the Vikings took a 7-0 lead. And, it looked like it was going to go like the rest of the Vikings games that year until it all fell in on them, in part because Zimmer got out-coached. All right, let's pivot now. And I don't know I have no idea what they're going to do. I don't know what they should do. They have a lot of things they can sell as positives. But cap situation's not great.
No, it's not.
And you better have a plan for Kirk Cousins. And I hope the plan isn't let's go find a coach who really wants to work with Kirk Cousins. Let's go find the best coach and let the coach decide.
That's what it is.
And the GM decide what to do with Kirk Cousins. And if they want to go another way, so be it. If they want to give Cousins that last year and make him earn his $35 million, so be it. But I think that the winds are blowing in the direction of Kirk Cousins finally making the long-last trip to the glue factory, at least.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.